another gorgeous week in Hawaii for the PGA Tour. So that means it's another gorgeous week here on Cash Out with the Coaches with your hosts. I am the coach and my nemesis, my competition, one of the great coaches in golf in the world, Travis Fulton. And before we look forward to our picks this week for the Sony Open, Travis, we must first look back at the Tournament of Champions. And not exactly the greatest start for us, but there was a reason for that, don't you think?
You know, there's always going to be those weekends, right, of sports where things just don't go your way. First off, let's just get this out of the way. The Seahawks played terrible, coach. And it's going to take me a while to get over that. Losing to the Rams, that's for another day.
Performance.
Awful.
Come on.
That's for another day. Now, as far as the Sentry Tournament of Champions, Hideki Matsuyama is still on the 18th trying to putt out because he can't make a putt. But it didn't play out the way we handicapped it. You know, it was definitely softer than I was anticipating, and there was no wind. I was looking for a little bit more wind, and they had 4 perfect days, so 25 under. Goodness gracious. You give these guys soft conditions, no wind, they go deep. And Harris English, super excited to see him get his 3rd win, and you hit that top 20.
Yeah, that was the only, really the only, if it would have been a 54-hole event, we would have been killing.
Yeah.
Because going into Sunday, we were great, but Dustin Johnson really screwed us over. Victor Hovland as well. Several guys really went south on Sunday, which really hurt us. But Harris English has really been trending. He was a sexy pick for a lot of people around the golf world, and I thought he was solid. Played good on Sunday, yep. And he will also be in the field this week. And only 2 times, 2003 with Ernie Els and 2017 with Justin Thomas, has a player pulled off what I call the Aloha swing, where they won the Tournament of Champions and backed that up with the Sony Open. So as we start to spin it forward, let's tell people kind of the type of player, Trav, you see doing well here this week. And the betting favorites look like this: Webb Simpson plus 1,100, Morikawa plus 1,200, Harris English plus 1,400, and then there's your boy Hideki, the 4th betting favorite this week. He's plus 1,600 after a week where he was hitting it sideways all over the place.
I can't take another week of Hideki, right? I can't take another week
Are you sure?
of watching Hideki with the flat stick. You know, I'll tell you what, Webb's the betting favorite, but he better hit his driver better because he was all over the map last week with his driver. And you're not going to get away with that, coach, at that Waialae, because this golf course is completely different than what they faced last week at Kapalua. Kapalua is wide open. You've got the big elevation changes, right? Uneven greens. That strokes gain approach with the wedge game kind of plays out there. A little slower greens because they have a lot of undulation. Now you come over to Waialae and it's flat. It's tight. It's a second shot golf course, a more premium off the tee, I think, from an accuracy component. And it's a par 70. Last week, I hate par 73s, coaches. I don't like par 73s.
I know.
Here we are, par 70. You got the 2 par 5s, 2 easy holes on the course, number 9 and number 18. I think the thing to kind of look for here this week, which is kind of an interesting characteristics that the players don't get a lot, is that TIFF dwarf Bermuda greens. Let me say that again. Yeah, let me say that again. TIFF dwarf Bermuda greens. I think they're the same greens that they play at the RSM, and not sure where else, but you don't see them a lot, right? You see a lot of Bermuda, but you have this TIFF dwarf Bermuda that throws a wrench in things in putting these greens, because we know the surfaces matter for a lot of these guys. So how do you manage these greens? A little more rough this week, and look for the beautiful back 9. Coach, I got to ask you, would you rather have nighttime golf, right? Bed golf, as I call it. You're in bed, you're watching them in Hawaii, prime time, late at night. Or would you rather have that morning cup of coffee for the Open? For me, I kind of liked it. Glass of wine at night, watching the Sentry Tournament of Champions. Sign me up this week.
Yeah, let's be clear. Those are images I can't get out of my head. With you tweeting about, I've got my wine, my feet are up, I'm in my big king-size bed, I'm watching night golf. What gets better than that? Stop it. Stop it.
Why?
I can't think of you in your boxers laying on your bed with a glass of red wine and your pinky up in the air. I just can't think about it. But
it's like, Hideki, make a putt, for crying out loud.
I heard you screaming all the way across the country. I will say this. I do like, it's kind of like when players say, I like stroke stroke plays, but every now and then I'd like a team event. Every now and then I'd like a Stapleford. Every now and then, I like changing it up. And I like the fact that in January, when it's cold pretty much everywhere except where I live and where you live and in Hawaii, people are starving for golf. And I like it in the evening and here late afternoon in the West Coast. But it's hard when you're playing on the East Coast and the first tee time is 4 a.m. out here. Mm-hmm. So if I'm taking my druthers, I would rather have nighttime golf because I can watch it all.
Yeah, it's nice, man. It's motivating. I was like, man, I'm gonna go hit some balls, the next day. Hey, one other thing here about the model. I know sometimes you kind of discount my model. Let me just kind of throw it at you here and get this out of the way. So when I was building my model this week, it's interesting. You go back to previous years, right? And we know that Cameron Smith won here. Remember when JT blitzed the field? I think it was back in 2017. He won here. He was like 27 under par. Russell Henley's won here. We know that. Jimmy Walker won back-to-back years. Fabian Gomez has won here. So the model, you go back to the strokes gained putting. This is one of the first events and maybe only event where you see it maybe just slightly above strokes gained approach. And we know strokes gained approach is so important on the PGA Tour. So you've got to move up this stroke gained putting at least 1 and 1A with strokes gained approach. And of course, that TIFF dwarf Bermuda and how the guys are going to handle that. Strokes gained off the tee, I think when you look at it, distance is always a premium, but I think you got to look at the total driving here, right? Because accuracy is going to play in. I want someone who can get it out there, get the ball and play. And I think with, it looks like the wind's probably going to stay down. I think it's going to be ideal scoring positions again, get the ball and play and make a lot of birdies like we saw last week. And then strokes gained around the green. Guys will miss a few more greens this week than they did last week. So you got to elevate that some. But again, it brings up the rear. So I think it could be a putting contest here, this week, kind of like we saw last week. Harry English is a beautiful putter. I mean, a great putter. I know he can strike it, but the guy's always been a top shelf putter. You got to move it up. Give me someone that can get it in play and fill it up from 10 to 15 feet.
Yeah, I really think, too, the hardest thing to do on the PGA Tour is to back up a win with another win. And I also don't understand why certain players, and I know that the top players can do what they want to do, but this week there's no DJ, there's no Rum, there's no JT. If you're going to go all the way to Hawaii and play in a tournament, why wouldn't you play in both? I just have never understood going there, playing in the Tournament of Champions, and then going back home and not playing this week. But everybody sets their schedule differently, and I understand that. All right, so
real quick, 32 of the 42 were scheduled. But now we're down to 30 because Victor Hovland's out and Patrick Reed is out due to shin splints walking up and down those fairways at Kapalua, man.
What are the odds? What are the odds? Shin splints.
I know.
Sidelining Patrick
Boy, they
Reed.
hurt.
For a lot of people, he was going to be a sexy pick this week. And now he's no longer in it. All right. So that's our preview. So I believe now it's time to get into our picks. Once in a while, like last week, we had the great Clay Travis. We'll have interviews when it makes sense, but not every single week. So we're going to get into our picks right now. We want you at home to play along with us. Here's normally what it looks like on a week when the odds come out at the right times. We're going to do two head-to-head matchups. You got $100, okay? A top 20 pick, a tournament winner, and a wild card play. It can be anything that you want. But this week, we're going to change it up a little bit. So you get to pick one head-to-head tournament matchup, a top 10 pick, a top 20 pick, a winner, and then a wild card pick, which can be anything on the board. So I know I've thrown you off a little bit, Travis, and you're trying to get back on the winning track this week. So somewhere deep down in a place I don't like to think about, I'm rooting for you. I don't want you to be on the schneid anymore. So give me your first head-to-head pick for the Sony Open week number 2 in 2021.
I'm back with my boy, Sungjae M over. Yeah, that's right. Hideki Matsuyama. I only play Matsuyama when the conditions get tough and you got to grind it out. And that's kind of what I was expecting. Anyway, I'm done with the Sentry Tournament of Champions. He's going to bring that ice cold putter now over to Honolulu. And my boy Sungjae is going to continue to get it done. If you follow me, I love Sungjae, right? He was the former Rookie of the Year. Former Rookie of the Year with the likes of Colin Morikawa, Matthew Wolff, and Victor Hovland. Maybe you've heard of those three, right? No, Sungjae was the Rookie of the Year. And Sanjay was affected by COVID. He was playing brilliant golf, won the Honda. COVID hits. The guy couldn't find his game. I mean, this guy plays every week. He was playing so bad. Even Sanjay took a week off. But things now are starting to look like his rookie season. I think he's kind of regrouped a bit. He showed some resolve. Second at the Masters, of course. And a nice performance, tied for 5th at the Tournament of Champions. And he lost 3.2 strokes gained putting. Think about that. He lost 3.2 strokes gained putting and was putting pretty well coming into that. So, you know, I look at Sanjay. He checks all the boxes when it comes to, you know, having that total driving kind of game, having that approach kind of game. A little bit of a concern with the putter last week, but he's been showing some form. I like him moving over to Honolulu and keeping some things going, because let's face it, all he has to do is just make maybe 2 putts and he's got Matsuyama beat. So give me $20 on Sanjay over Matsuyama at -118.
$20. Okay. $20. Cool. Well, here's the thing. I love how you're the master. You're the master of skewing the storylines to fit the narrative that you want. Like, people at home are like, man, Sungjae Im beat out Matthew Wolff and Victor Hovland. They only played half a season because they were just coming out of college, and Sungjae had the entire year. But I digress. It made sense for what you were trying to sell on your
Who was
pick.
the rookie of the year?
Sungjae Im.
My boy.
All right. Now, I do like Sungjae, and he may or may not show up in my picks coming up in just a couple of minutes. But my head-to-head, I'm going with a guy that when you talk about strokes gained approach, last week was right at the top. This dude was hitting tight shot after tight shot. And in all honesty, he probably should have won. All he needed to do was birdie one of the last 2 holes, and he wins that golf tournament. He couldn't get it done. And so Joaquin Niemann, I think, comes back, has a really good week. He's hungry. He's angry that he didn't win last week. And at -118, I'm going to give it $25 over Abraham Answer, who people seem to love to bet on. I think that's why the number is where it is. But Answer hasn't proved he can win anything. So give me Joaquin Niemann after a really good week, losing in a playoff last week, -118 for $25.
I don't think you're putting enough on it. I think Niemann's gonna beat the. Well, we'll get to that later on.
All right,
we'll
you know, so you want to? All right, let's go $45 then. I just changed it on the fly. I just changed it $45 at -118. Now that may not feel like the smart play because of the calculations, but I'll take plus money over no money, because if you lose, you can't get anything. So thank you for calling me out.
The emotion, Cody, is taking over. The emotion is taking over. We're already.
I'm going to
adjust one bet one.
I'm going to have to adjust my numbers on the rest of them since you called me out. All right, let's go to our what's next, Cody. Let's go top 10. What's your top 10 pick there, Mr. Fulton?
Well, I think I'm going to take. I'm going to go $20 with Daniel Berger. How do you say it? Berger or Berger?
Berger.
Oh.
I've never heard Berger. Not one time.
Daniel Berger plus 140. Top 10. Now, we've talked a lot about Harris English, right? And Harris, the steps that he took from a year ago and where that's taken his game. You know, it gets his 3rd win, first since 2013. Now, here's Berger, who won last year, and I think has 3 wins to this point, 27 years of age. I'm going to read off these statistics to you, okay, coming into this calendar year. You ready for this?
Let's give it to me.
Strokes gained off the tee on the PGA Tour, 27th. Strokes gained approach, 34th. Strokes gained around the green, 28th. Putting, 17th. Total, 6th. I mean, that is unbelievable. Those statistics. If I told you that was Justin Thomas, you'd probably believe me.
No doubt.
Right? I mean, that's the kind of statistic. Now, I mean, approach game, Thomas is first, but those are some ball striking stats. And I think, you know, you look at him last week, he finished T10. I think he hit the ball pretty well. I don't think he had a very good putting week. And he's played okay at Sony. He's been here a few times, T38 back in 2020, T14 back in 2018. I think he's a much better player right now than he was the previous couple times that he played at this event. So I like Daniel Berger. I think he's done a brilliant job with Jeff Leishman, his coach, as Harris English did with Jeff Parsons. I like these homebred swings, games, and these guys taking ownership in that. Harris is on his way. I think Berger is on his way. I think this is a good venue to him. You talk about total driving. Berger's name is up there. You talk about approach game. Berger's name is up there. You talk about putting Bermuda greens. It's a Florida State kid. I mean, this is a good venue for him. And I think a top 10, if not a win, is certainly in the ranks here. So put 20 on plus 140, and I'll be counting that come Sunday night.
I feel like sometimes you try to talk yourself into your pick. That you're like, the longer I talk, the more I'm going to convince myself that this is a pretty good pick.
No, there's so much data that backs it up. There's so much data.
We come from polar opposite ends of the spectrum on how we make our picks. So I think it's fun. All right, my top 10 pick. I mentioned that I might have Sungjae M in my picks, and this is where I find him. I think he's going to have a really good week. Now, I'm almost conceding your head-to-head matchup because I think Matsuyama is going to probably not even make the cut the way he hit the ball last week. So if I want my top 10 pick to hit, that means your matchup bet is going to hit. So that's okay.
Well,
because I think this
Matsuyama could finish 8th.
Yeah, he's not going to do that. So to me, Sungjae M is hitting the ball great. You're getting it plus 160, so you get value. And I'm going to put $15 on Sungjae M for my top 10 pick at plus 160. Drop the mic. Lock it up.
I like
straight
that.
to the pay window.
I like Sungjae.
All right. Next, top 20 pick for Mr. Fulton. What do you got?
Well, I'm going to go top 20. I know a guy that you really like and shows up on your card once in a while. Let's just keep it consistent here. Another $20 on Lanto Griffin, right? Who won the Houston Open back in 2019, played in the Sentry last week because he made it all the way to Atlanta, right? That was the biggest field because they let everybody in the Tour Championship. Slow start. He shot 71 on Thursday, which probably felt like
start there.
Which probably felt like 87, right? The way those guys were going on Thursday. But then he picked it up. I think a little rust, 68, 69, 67. He played here back in 2019. He finished in the top 10 here, was T7. And I think Griffin now with that win, you look at his game, he's pretty long off the tee. He can get a little erratic sometimes from an accuracy standpoint, but his putter is the strength. And I'm taking the angle here. I think it's a good fit for him because I think when Lanto kind of gets the approach game going, he gets a putter going, he can start rolling in some birdies. So I like him here. He's done it before at the Sony. He's certainly trending. You look at the year that he had. This is an impressive player, and I think he's going to be fighting for that respect now, right? Like, I belong. Give me another win, and now I'm just one win under a Patrick Cantlay. That kind of name.
That is really hard to think about,
right?
But it's true.
It's true. Right. So I'm going to give him the respect, Lanto, this week.
I'm not sure if I've mentioned it before. I actually picked Lanto to win the Houston Open at 45-1 a couple of years ago. I don't know. I may have mentioned it before.
No, I think you've mentioned that a few times.
Once or twice. I'm not going with Lanto Griffin as my top 20. I'm going back to the well one more time, baby, because I believe that if you put all your eggs in one basket, as my mama used to say, sometimes you can hatch a lot of chicks. So I'm going to go with Joaquin Niemann as my top 20. I'm putting $20 on it because when you look at his numbers, it's not just my gut, which has done me pretty well. But this is about watching him play for 4 straight rounds and watching how close he's hitting it to the hole. And that translates to Waialae. That absolutely, you can go from one island to the next with that game. So give me $20. So essentially, Trav, I've got $65 riding on Joaquin Niemann, thanks to the fact that you got in my head and you caused me to get out of my skin for just a moment. But I'm not going to backtrack. I'm going to lock it in at $20. Joaquin Niemann is my top 20. All right.
Well, you know why that's such a good pick?
Why?
Because of where we're going next year, which is
the winner.
Where? The winner.
Of the whole damn thing.
That's right.
Give it to me.
The winner of the 2021, where are we at? Sony Open. Joaquin Niemann, right? What a start.
Pebble Beach.
What a start. Plus 2,000. Let's put 25 on this. $25 on Joaquin Niemann to win this tournament. Almost won last week. Kind of had the silly bogey on the 18th. I mean, that's golf, right? Like you're just blitzing it. You're 8 under for the day, and all of a sudden you walk off the 18th green and you feel disappointed because you didn't birdie the.
Unbelievable.
But you're right. I mean, this guy is a ball striking machine. I mean, he really is. He drives the ball. He's got good length off the tee. He's a small guy, but he hits it 310 yards. He's long. He's accurate. You get the approach game with him. And I think you're riding a hot putter right now. I think that's kind of always been his opportunity. You're riding either a hot putter or a much improved putter, right? Coming into 2021. So I think it'll be interesting to see with Joaquin how much he can improve with the flat stick, because you're getting the ball striking. I mean, you're going to get the tee ball. You're going to get the approach game. The only thing that you can't look at right now, Coach, is you can't go back 1 year from now and look at strokes gained putting last year, Joaquin Niemann, because it was negative 7.3 at Wildlife. So don't let that freak you out.
All right. It's not, I won't, but I'm glad you told everybody that stat.
But let me say this real quick.
Okay.
Birdie average, right? Because we got to have birdies here. You've got to make birdies. He's averaging 5.14 birdies. Tour average is 3.83. So he's filling it up. He's feeling good. I think he's going to keep the mojo going this week. I agree with Joaquin, but he's going to win it.
I think motivation is a big factor here. And you remember back in those 2 events in the fall, and I can't remember exactly, maybe you can help me out with this, but basically it was a friend or a cousin, it was his nephew or niece that has a life-threatening disease, and he was donating every dollar that he made for a tournament or 2 directly to pay for those medical bills. And I think you can look at that motivation, and I don't think he's doing it last week or this week, but my point is that he's now laser focused based off of that. And to me, when you put emotion into your game and you've got a really good game and you're playing for a purpose, then I think that you can will yourself to really good finishes on the PGA Tour. And I think that's what we're seeing from Joaquin Niemann. So I like that pick. My pick to win it all is the champion back in 2013, where he walked onto the PGA Tour. He was brand spanking new. It was his first start of that year, and he got the W. And I'm talking about Russell Henley. And he comes in this week, plus 3,500. And although we had some issues, Trav, back in the fall, because I picked him several times, and he absolutely screwed me in multiple head-to-head matchups. But I'll forgive. I'll never forget. But I think this week, when you look at all the numbers, and I looked at all the numbers for the last 24 rounds at this course and for this tournament, Russell Henley, his name shows up in a lot of those top numbers. So my pick this week, I'm going with the man who can, you talk about getting on a birdie streak. This man can get on a birdie streak. I'll take Russell Henley.
Yeah, his best putting surface is certainly Bermuda. Not a surprise. The Georgia Bulldog, yeah, it's a good pick. Like, this is a good venue for him. Boy, a lot of top 10s in there for him. When you look back post-COVID, this is kind of an underrated player, right? Russell Henley. I think he kind of gets, I don't think he always gets the credit that he deserves, but from tee to green, the guy can go.
And no doubt about it. All right, our last pick of the week, and this is a wild card pick.
Yeah.
And it can be anything on the board, and it's up to you. So what's your wild card pick this week?
Well, this is a wild card pick for sure, because, I think for me, I've been watching this guy for a while. Cameron Davis, not Cameron Smith. Cameron Davis.
From down under.
From Australia, 6'4", 181 pounds. He's 25 years of age. I think I'm getting him at plus 450, which I like. Mm-hmm. This is his 4th year now, okay, on the PGA Tour as he makes his round. I think Cameron started to figure some things out really last summer as he rolled into the 3M. He finished 12th, then he was 15th at the Wyndham, and then 29th at the Northern Trust, 36. I mean, like, things you could see, like the finishes were starting to move up and start to get a little bit more consistent. Last time we saw him was at the RSM. He didn't play great there. Missed a cut, but I like what I see with his game. I really think he's an impressive player. And I think now he's got his footing a little bit on some of these courses. He's played the Sony Open before, has done okay here, so he's seen the track. He's long, 312 yards. Approach game, I think, is trending. I think he's improving there, and I think his putter is starting to come around as well. I think this is an impressive player. I think as he gets comfortable here in the United States, it's a wild card pick, but I'm going top 20 with Cameron Davis, and to make some noise here in this calendar year.
Well, I call him the prototype, because I believe that moving forward, he's going to be the prototype for what more and more golfers are going to look like body-wise that are going to make it onto the PGA Tour. Effortless power. I love his game. I love his demeanor on the course. So I like that pick, actually.
Yeah.
All right, my wild card pick. And when I went back and I pulled, I channeled my inner Travis Fulton. And I said, I got to look at these numbers because he's going to throw these numbers out at me. It's going to be 2 here, 3 here. So when I looked at all the different strokes gained at this course over the course of the last 5 to 6 years, one name kept popping up at the top. And that's my pick. A top 20 pick at plus 200 is Brendan Todd. Brendan Todd, who has made a career, or the last 12 months, of playing really good for 54 holes and then falling off the cliff. In a top 20 pick, we just need you not to fall off the cliff, Trav.
Right.
Just finish the tournament.
Yeah.
Victor Hovland last week dropped 23 spots on Sunday. You got to finish the tournament. Brendan Todd, please, at plus 200, finish the tournament this week.
No surprise these Georgia Bulldogs can putt on this Bermuda, right? This is a surface they're comfortable with. I'll tell you what, Brendan Todd can putt, man, and he can make birdies. Strokes gained putting last week, 5.2. He finished 13th. RSM positive 4.6. I mean, like, you see 4, 5, 6 positive all the time with Brendan Todd, all the time. This is a good venue, you would think, for Brendan for sure. I like that pick.
I just think that he's really he. Now we're past the storyline of he's turned his career around.
Yeah. And
now it's what can you do now that you have the exemptions? You don't have to worry about that for the next 2 years. Now, really, what can you do?
Right.
And I'm anxious to see. I'm anxious to see what he can do. All right. As always, we do this show in 30 minutes or less, just for you. Final thoughts heading into week number 2 here at Sports Pub.
I'm excited. I feel like, with the weather conditions, the way we've got it handicapped, I feel really good about these picks. I felt okay about the picks last week, but as the tournament came on, you could see the soft conditions, and then it was like another day of no wind, and then another. I mean, it's like, oh no. I think this week we're in for a birdie fest. We're going to be well into the 20s, under par. So I feel good about where we're at. I like your picks too, Coach. So please, I mean that sincerely. Take that as a compliment.
Yeah, I saw your tongue in cheek there. I will say this, that if the same thing happens this week that happened to us last week, we may have to start picking the Champions Tour, because we were really good for 54 holes. Really good for 54 holes.
Yeah.
But it's that last 18 holes that we struggle with. All right. Keep track of us on social media at Travis Fulton Golf, at the Coach Rules. We'll have all of our picks up there with us. Play with us. Send in your picks at Cash Out Coaches on Twitter, and see if you can beat us. And then coming up in a couple months, we've got some contests coming up for you, for anybody that can beat us on social media. All right.
And we got a good guest next week coming as the tour gets into California. Special guest next week right here, Cash Out with the Coaches. Can't tell you what it is. I'll tell you later in the week.
That was like the worst tease of all time. But it was a tease. Yeah, you're like, oh, we got a great guest. I can't tell you who it is, though. So you're just going to have to wait to find out.
All right, I'll leave that to you moving forward.
It was a great tease. All right, on behalf of our incredible sponsor, Sports Pub, give them a follow on social media. They will be the leader in golf content and golf betting. It's only a matter of time. We're thrilled to be partnered with them. For Travis Fulton, our incredible producer, Cody Merrow, Samantha, who does an amazing job, I am the coach. Let's take all of our picks straight to the pay window. And remember, you can always cash out right here with the coaches. Good luck.
See you.